So I developed a model called BASE3. That's what I'm going to be presenting to you today. And what it does is it provides a way for you to make decisions about marketing. I come from a technical background, and when I started my own company, what I found is that it was really difficult to know what to do, what to pick. How should you do email? Should you have social media? How do you know where to spend your time? So I developed BASE3 to help us make those decisions. And I wanted to start with my favorite quote, the quote that really keeps me going. It came from my great-grandmother. She had it on her desk, and it really fits all of us as founders. And that quote is, "If you believe you are right, you must go ahead and see if you are." So I wanted to ask you really quickly, if I gave you $50,000 to spend on marketing, what do you feel would give you the biggest return? Just drop that into the chat, and then also tell me, rating from 1 to 10, how confident are you in that decision? Just curious to know the level of confidence people have and expertise. So my goal for you today, I'm going to put this into presentation mode. My goal for you today is that I'm going to give you an introduction into how to make marketing decisions. A little bit about me. As I said, I live in Marin County. I have 3 kids. They're much older than this, but this is one of my favorite pictures. I have 2 dogs. I developed this BASE3 model that I'm introducing to you today. I wrote a book about it, and I'm an adjunct professor at Dominican University for website development and graphic design for business. So digital marketing, what I found in my work with startup founders and founders of businesses that have been around for a long time is there's a lot of uncertainty about where to start, where to focus. A lot of frustration from spending a lot of money and not really seeing the results you're hoping for. And a lot of companies that I've worked with have just been frozen into inaction. They're afraid of throwing away money, so they're doing nothing. Because marketing, digital marketing, just feels like everything all over the place all of the time. And what my clients want to know, and what we all want to know as founders, is what is the shortest distance between our potential customer and them making a purchase? So to start, I want to do a little bit of unlearning, marketing unlearning. I'm sure as founders, you've all started to dabble in marketing. And there are some things that I think lead people down the wrong path. And so we're going to talk about those really quickly. Unlearning the lead funnel. So you've probably seen this funnel shape many times. There are some problems with thinking about marketing in this way, where we try to get a ton of people in at the top, and then we get our few sales out at the bottom. What this does when you're looking at it this way is it puts the most important person in your lead funnel at the bottom, and they seem like they're not very important. So what I have done with BASE3 is I've changed the lead funnel. And the way that I have this set up is that the sale is actually in the middle of the funnel, because you want to be spending a lot of attention after that sale in making your customer happy and then turning them into your best salesperson. So from my perspective and the BASE3 perspective, the sale is really just the beginning of what can turn into exponential growth. So unlearning, focusing so much of your attention on the top of the funnel. The top of the funnel is not the most important part of your sales process. It's really this time period after that sale when you can turn your customer into a salesperson. We want to focus on the bottom of the funnel. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, how to do that. I want to also have you create the mindset of your customer. If they're telling their friends about you, they're not promoting you, they're promoting their decision to pick you. And when you think about it that way, your language and the way that you speak to your customers really starts to shift. So those are the 3 things that I just wanted to go through to unlearn a little bit. And this is what we're going for. We're going for a customer journey that turns into you doing a really good job of taking care of them. They're happy with their decision to work with you, to buy from you. They promote their decision to work with you, tell their friends about it, and they and their friends will come back and purchase from you. So this is what we're trying to create. So BASE3, how did BASE3, what is the 3 in BASE3? People always ask that question. So the 3 comes from when I took a deep dive into developing this model. What I came up with are these 3 core, I call them the 3 certainties in digital marketing. We have the customer journey, aided by information, and supported by your outreach to deliver that information. These are the 3 components of BASE3. And once I had this foundation, then I could start to develop, okay, how do we set up a framework to help us make decisions? So I have I think I have 3 short lessons here. Lesson number 1, first you want to segment and measure your customer's journey. And the way that BASE3 is set up is that we have 5 very specific levels of the human decision-making process. They're defined by data points, and that's really important in digital marketing because you want to be able to measure how well your marketing is working. And without those specific data points, you're not certain. So let me just briefly go over this. And by the way, this will be recorded so you can go back and listen. And I also will be sending you a copy of these slides if you give me your contact information. So the discovering level, these are customers who are out there and have no idea you exist. There are 0 data points connecting them to you. And so what you're wanting to do is to be found by them. The consideration level, I think I need to turn on my little pointer thing here. I can't because Zoom is covering it up. All right, I'll just talk through it. The consideration level, these are people who have 1 or more data points connecting them to you. It might be that they came to your website and you don't know who they are, but that data point does exist. And you should have on your website Google Analytics. You should have your LinkedIn Insight tag, the Meta Pixel. Many of the social media platforms provide, in essence, little bits of code that will put a little tick on their database to let them know that their user has been to your website. So you want to have those tracking mechanisms in place on your website. The decision level, these are people who have performed some action that shows intent to purchase. And you need to decide what that means to your business. It's different depending on your sales process. For some businesses, e-commerce, it means they've maybe put your product into their shopping cart. For me, it's they've reached out to me and they've made an appointment to get a consultation. So you want to know what that is, again, because we want to be able to measure as much as we can. So after they've made a decision to work with you, they are now in this validation level. And they are looking for validation that they made the right decision, that you were the right choice. And this one, it's really important to have in your process a way that you are helping them get to know you, get to know your product, and to feel really good about that decision. These are people who it's too soon to ask for a testimonial. So you need to make a determination in your process. At what point are your customers generally feeling confident that they can make a determination of whether or not they made the right decision? And have something happen, like send out a survey, ask them for a testimonial, have a phone call, a post-project review process. You want to have something in your process that helps you take them from being in that validation level to having made a decision about whether or not they're happy with that decision. And so then the promotion level becomes all of those customers who have graduated and they have decided whether or not they made the right decision. And those are the people that can become your best salespeople. And what I like to do when I'm working with my students and my clients is we put numbers to these levels. This helps you understand where you're at. Now, of course, when you're a startup, you might not have any customers. But this is an example of a business who maybe they've been around for a year and they have about 350 past customers. They have 20 customers that are testing out their product, getting to know it. They have 10 who are thinking about it. So how do we define who's in the consideration level? I typically will just look at website visits. This helps me understand how many people are looking at me. The discovering level, it's hard to know how many people are out there. I mean, it's good to try to make an assessment of how many people are your potential customers. But what I like to look at is Google Search Console. Google Search Console is a very important tool for you to be familiar with. It tells you how many searches your website is appearing in. It will let you know whether or not the algorithms understand who you are. Typically, when you're just getting started, it's going to be, in a month's time, it might be 1,000 impressions. But after you get going, that should be going into the thousands of impressions that your website is getting. And if it's not in the thousands, that means there's something wrong, something needs to be fixed. So by going through this exercise and putting numbers to these different levels, it really helps you see where your audience is at, and it helps you understand where you need to be focusing your budget, your marketing budget. This is an example of what Google Search Console looks like. Many people that I talk to haven't ever looked at Google Search Console. Even marketing folks that I've worked with, they don't understand Search Console. They haven't had the opportunity to learn it. So I want to be sure to show you kind of what it looks like. So whether you are doing your own marketing or you're working with the marketing team, it's really important that you and they are looking at this information. So this is an example of Google Search Console results that I looked at for a client recently. At the top here, we have search impressions over 3 months. And when I looked at this and I saw the number 990, that told me something was really wrong. Down below shows you a chart for a similar business, been around for a similar amount of time, and they have almost 9,000 impressions over 3 months. So what we determined in looking at this is that there was a big issue with their website and they had no idea. So that's why it's really important to be in touch with these numbers. All right, moving on to lesson 2. And I know I'm going really fast through this information, but hopefully it's going to give you some insight. And as I mentioned, if you share your contact information with me, I will send you a copy of these slides and a recording of this session will be emailed out to you also from Founders Bay. Okay, lesson number 2. So we had the 3 in BASE3. First, we talked about the customer journey. Now we're going to talk about the content, that information that is needed by your customers to help them get through the journey. Now, I'm not going to have time to go through all of this in detail, but over on the right-hand side here, you'll see that I have identified the types of content you need to have at the ready for your customers. When they're first learning about you, I really want to be able to do my laser pointer. Oh, here we go. That's better. Okay. When they're first learning about their problem, they're discovering their problem, and they happen to stumble across you, it's way too soon to try to sell to them. They're still up here thinking about, oh, where do I want to be? What is my problem? How am I going to fix it? They're still learning. So you want to have this type of content available either on your website as people are doing searches and exploring, or social media content. If you want to get discovered by new people, you should be having this type of content up on your social media around your customers' interests, and of course, as it relates to your business. At the consideration level, you want to have content that educates them, talks about their options. You want to make sure you're showing you understand your competitors and how you fit in with your competitors. And you want to be demonstrating your expertise. Now, I can't go through all of these because we would just run out of time, but I recommend getting a copy of this, studying this, and you want to have this type of content ready to help your customer go through their decision-making process. Okay, so number 3. So we talked about the customer journey, the information they need for that journey. And now we're going to talk about where do you publish that information? So this is the full chart, and you see it behind me also in my background. This is the BASE3 chart. And the third piece is this grid here of these are the channels that we're all using. Your website. I separated your sales point because some business has a separate sales system and etc. It's just separated. We have email, text outreach. These are channels that you have control of. Then we have social media. We have platforms where you can share a page or a blog article and it links back to your website. Then we also have platforms where they don't really allow you to do that. You just, like Instagram, for example, you can't put a link in your post. You just get that one profile link at the top. So they behave very differently. So I have them separated here. And then we have ads and merch. These are events and partners. They're grouped together because they come with already existing audiences. And participating in Founders Bay events is wonderful because you are going to be surrounded by a community of people who are in the same situation as you, or potential investors who are looking for a product or service just like yours. And then over on the right here, sorry, I have some Zoom issues getting in my way here. Mobile app and the metaverse. So this is color coded so that you know where to focus your time. As startup founders, it can feel so overwhelming when there's so many options and you have a limited budget to spend on marketing because you're spending a lot of your time and energy in developing your product or your business. You are here at this level. People they don't know about you yet. You might not have this whole list of 1,000 past clients. So the place where you should be focusing your time and energy is creating content on your website around the interests, future vision of your customers, their future vision of themselves, and their problem. So when they're out searching, either on AI search, or on a search engine like Google, that you will be found by them. And the same with this type of information. This is SEO. When someone talks about SEO, they're talking about this type of information where you're going to get found by people who are looking for either your service or information around their problem. Social media, if you are going to use social media to be found by new people, you need to be putting up this type of content so that the algorithms are working for you. You may have experience putting up information on social media and you didn't get very many impressions. And that's because you're putting up information just about your business. The algorithms want to put information around new people that is of interest to those people. So identifying what content fits this description for your ideal customer in relation to your business is really important, not only for your website, but your social media content. Working with, going to events that have people in attendance who are your potential customers, and working with partners, this is the fastest way to get customers when you're a new startup, because you're able to borrow the credibility of the event holder and your partners. So when you are brand new, this is what I recommend you focus on. And then I'll just repeat it really quickly. Website content around your customers' interests, and content around educating, showing the options that they have, and demonstrating your expertise. And this is long-term SEO. It's not going to start working right away, but eventually, and you'll see this when you look at Google Search Console, that this content is starting to get impressions and people are starting to visit that content. Social media, yes, if you were putting up this type of content, and then working with events and partners. This is really the most important and the fastest way to start getting people either purchasing from you or on whatever platform or product you're developing. I wanted to show you how we can use this chart to diagram out a campaign. This is a blog article campaign. We talked about putting up content around your customers' interests, future desires, etc. When you put up content on your website, you can share it on one of these platforms that allows you to do links, like LinkedIn, for example, X, putting something up on Reddit where you can link back to your website. Finding platforms where you can share your website content that will lead them back to your website. So when they come back and read your article, you want to make sure that this article on that page is trying to get their email address and also inviting them to explore further, maybe to get educated a little more about their problem. And you also want to invite them to start engaging with you, fill out a form. You want to be taking them further and further down that journey until you get them to do that action that for your business shows intent to purchase, putting something in their shopping cart, reaching out to you, making an appointment. And all along, as soon as you get their email address, you have the ability to start to build that relationship with them personally. You can invite them to make a purchase from you. You can invite them to follow you on social media, because then you can start to also use social media to build those relationships. Once they've made a purchase from you, then you are going to be reaching out to them and doing these very important things doing a good job of delivery, showing gratitude, giving them special offers and new products that you have realized or learned that they need. So that shows you're paying attention to their needs. And then certainly some sort of personalization. And then at one point you want to, when it makes sense for your business, invite them to do a survey, give a testimonial, give a review, so that you're helping them then graduate down to this level where they can tell their friends about you. And that will then create this return. I realize that I'm kind of running through all of this and not pausing. I just want to make sure that I get through all of these lessons, and then we can take some time for questions. So this is an example. Just before this meeting, I had a meeting with another marketer who runs ads. So we talked about what that looks like on BASE3 and how can he explain to his clients what that looks like so that they have an understanding of what's happening. So this is the ads column here. And you'll notice that I only have 2 blocks colored. And that is because if you're trying to run ads up here to, spread it out to tell people about, this is brand awareness up here. Startup companies do not have the budget for brand awareness. You need to be really targeted when you're running ads, or you can just blow through a ton of money really fast. So this is the channel 25 is the channel for keyword ads. And if you're running a keyword ad campaign, or you have your marketing team running it for you, you want it to be as narrow as possible in the beginning. Keep it really, really narrow. And then wherever you're running the ads, as it learns who your customers are, then you can broaden that. But start out really narrow. And you want the ad to lead to a lead page that is specifically created for that ad. A lot of times what I see is that ads just send people to the home page. And that is unfortunate, because if someone actually clicks on your ad, it means now they know who you are. They know what your solution is. They know what their problem is. So the next step really is explaining to them, like, yes, we understand your problem, and this is who we are, and this is how we can help you. So that lead page or landing page needs to be tailored to this place where your potential customer is on their journey. And then that should then lead them or invite them to engaging with you. And if they're not ready to engage with you, maybe at least you can get their email address. And then you can start reaching out to them to take them further down their journey. And then I also recommend, so channel 35 is a retargeting ad. It's always good to have a retargeting ad running, at least on Google and Meta. And there are other platforms that allow you to do that too, where if anybody comes to your website, you can show them your ad. If you're doing like a retargeting ad on Meta, if they come to your website and they go back to Instagram, they might see your ad. So this is a way of reminding people who are already familiar with you who you are. So this is generally how ads work especially when you're first starting out. Okay, so this diagram, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. This shows the complete digital marketing strategy for a business, all the areas that they're focusing. And it's nice to have this, because then you kind of get a full picture of what you're doing, and you can stop worrying about everything else. So you probably noticed that there are numbers on this chart. The numbers are useful because each one has a specific use. Like channel 10 is always blog content for search engines, people doing search. 35 is a retargeting ad. So you can go to the BASE3 model website and read about that channel and learn how to use that channel strategically. You also can use it to turn it into a production plan. So you can, once you have this diagrammed out, you can look at, okay, channel 17, working with partners. What do we need to have in place? So when we find a partner, we want to work together, what do we do? Do we have a special place on their website? You know, what is it? So you can create this production plan to share with your team. And this helps everyone see what you're trying to do. A lot of times marketing and tech teams have a hard time communicating with each other because they use different language, they have completely different knowledge. And by having this diagrammed out, the technical team or your website team can see where they fit in and they can make recommendations and vice versa. All right, so getting to the end of the presentation here, resources for you. There's a book, Digital Blitz. It's available on Amazon that I wrote. But I'm happy to, if you give me your contact information, I will just send you a copy of it in digital so you don't have to pay for it. The BASE3 model has a chatbot with the logic of BASE3 in it. Of course, we all know AI isn't perfect. It still makes mistakes and says funny things. But you can ask it questions about how to market your business based on BASE3. It's on the website, base3model.com. You can go there to get additional information. I'm planning to do group training and lectures. And then I also do corporate training.